if you get stuck, then get in touch.
That'd be super.
I do
How
this.
long have you been using it now?
I've been using social media for quite a lot of years now, probably 6 or 7 years.
Right.
But I think I've been using it in a professional sense seriously for about 3 years,
Oh,
4
I've been
years.
using Facebook since forever, but
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's not really any different. I suppose for me, the worry is it's a professional forum. Facebook's different, it's your family and your friends, and it's absolutely fine. But on a professional forum, you put something out, and it's suddenly out there for all to see.
I think we're recording again. That was Jean just talking about her concerns about social media, and Elizabeth is with us too. They're both members of the UKOT Research Foundation, which is called UKOTRF.
UKOTRF.
But we're just having a little chat about social media and what the possibilities are, as well as research. But I just wanted to catch quickly what your tips would be for people that are thinking about doing research in OT.
Oh, a tip, how can that be so quickly done? I think the first thing for me is you've got to be passionate about research and really wanting to undertake research, which can be quite a hard pathway, but it is an alternative for people's careers, or in addition to what you're doing already, to have research and be a researcher funded to do your studies as part either all of what you do or alongside clinical work or academic work. We know from members that creating the evidence base of the profession is one of the things you really value more than anything, and that won't happen unless we've got people doing the research that's needed to help us move forward with this. I think it's an exciting time to think about moving into research. It's not without hard work, and it's not without certain levels of risk, because you may find that you have to move from one grant to another. I'd certainly recommend that you talk to people who are already researchers, leading researchers, because they will give you some of their pathway tips, or you may be able to work alongside others to help try and develop yourself. I think you can only really grow from the bottom upwards, but there are a lot of people out there, and researchers who are passionate about their work are usually very keen to try and help other people bring on their skills, because we recognise it's so important to the future of the profession. So I hope that if you're watching this broadcast and you're an occupational therapist interested in research, do contact us at the college and see what resources we can do to help you if you're a member. And do think about those you know who are research interested in your area and contact them, because most people don't mind even just an email inquiry. If you're interested in their area and their research, they'll be very happy to share with you.
And there are lots of ways now, we were hearing in the presentations about how you can combine doing research and maybe getting your PhD or doing further study with clinical work that you're already employed to do. There are mechanisms and there's funding available that people can find out about for that.
Yeah, I would say certainly from my research career, I'm now newly finished my PhD, but where I started was doing a master's postgrad, and I did that part-time, and that's a good place for people to start if they're looking to get a grounding in basic research skills, because certainly when I graduated it wasn't something that I came out of my OT course with. It was something I then had to go and develop post-grad. The other thing as well is if you're a clinician, you're in the best place to identify what the research questions might be, because you live and breathe it every day. So I think clinicians should have a lot of power in terms of what's on the research agenda for COT and for OT as a profession, because you're the ones that are there at the coalface and seeing what the concerns are of patients or where the gaps in the evidence might be. And the other thing I would say, if you are very keen on research, is always question your practice, question why you're doing it, what's the evidence to support it, because as Liz said, there's so many things within our profession that aren't as evidence-based as they could be, but unless as a profession we start to question, we're not going to get any further than where we are just now. It's not a case of just burying your head in the sand and doing what you've always done for the last 10 years. Things do move on, research moves on, and you need to continually update the practice.
And so I think that we're quite advanced in mental health OT compared with some professions and even some parts of OT in terms of engaging with the people that use our services, and certainly a lot of research now is co-produced with people who are actually experienced in using our OT services, particularly in mental health. Is that right? So
I think across the board it's a good practice these days for research to involve service users, not just as research participants, but actually as people who are involved in defining the research question, perhaps involved in data collection, working with you on the project, because that's right, we do learn very considerably from our service users, and these are people who are going to be recipients of the services. So they're important in helping us produce the evidence that will be informing the services that future people will be receiving.
So is there a formal mechanism for people who might have used an OT service that have identified a gap in service provision, or something that isn't that we don't have evidence about? Maybe they've asked their OT key worker and they've said, well, I don't know that there's any evidence to support that idea. Is there a mechanism for them to actually get in touch through the college and actually send an email with an idea for research?
I think as a member organisation, our responsibility is to occupational therapists who are members of the organisation. And I think if service users are concerned about the evidence base that underpins the intervention that they are receiving, they ought to try and have that discussion with the service that's providing
the service.
It is providing it, because expert clinicians will work with their service users, but also the practice that they're delivering will be underpinned by their own knowledge, skills and clinical reasoning. And sometimes those elements aren't evident to other people because that's part of what you're delivering as a professional. And it's absolutely right, you should be having a dialogue with your service users, and service users should certainly always feel able to ask questions of their clinicians of, can you tell me why you're doing this, or why might this be better, or if I'm not happy about the intervention, what's the alternatives? But have the dialogue at that point, because research is a long pathway, and I think even as researchers, people often don't know the full evidence that's out there. We'll never have an answer to all knowledge. So I think it's much better to try and ask those questions at the time. But if service users are really interested in being part of a research community, there is a group that's a government-funded group called Involve, and if you look that up on a website, that's about service user involvement in research. And so that's a really good thing to get involved with, and they do a very nice newsletter, and they've got a website. So I think if service users are interested in research in the round, then it's often a good way to get involved. And there are other ways for service users to help. I mean, most of the big funding programs will have service user representatives on any of the things that they're developing. So I think if you're a service user who's interested in research or in making a difference or informing future decisions of health care, then there are a lot of ways that you can get involved.
That's really, really useful to know, and thanks for that, because these are questions that I have, and I hope they're interesting questions for you too. We've got to go because we're going to be watching a very esteemed colleague deliver the Elizabeth Casson lecture, which is the really prestigious lecture at the conference. So this is Claire O.T. signing off on the Bambuser feed, but do leave comments if you'd like to, or tweet me and get in touch and let me know, have I asked questions that you're interested in? Are there things that you wanted to ask that I didn't ask? Because I'm here for another couple of days, so I can always chase around and see if I can find the people and ask questions that I've missed out on. So thanks for watching, and bye-bye.